If your goal is to blow up your e-commerce brand with Google Ads, especially through Performance Max campaigns, you're in the right place, because I'm going to show you how we've been able to blow up e-commerce brands in the last 30 days to over $3.8 million in revenue exclusively using Performance Max campaigns at a 4.7x ROAS. Now, before actually getting into the actual strategies and approaches of the perfect Performance Max campaign, let's first take a step back and understand how a Performance Max campaign even works on a fundamental level, because what you want to understand is fundamentals, and the foundations is what makes a Performance Max campaign work for any e-commerce brand. And I say this because I see so many e-commerce brand owners constantly complain about how Performance Max campaigns is a black box and it's simply a campaign strategy which is out to make Google Ads more money versus the e-commerce brand itself. But essentially, what you need to understand is a Performance Max campaign, it only works as good as the inputs you give it, because at the end of the day, a PMax campaign is based solely off the algorithm. It's a smart bidding based approach which takes the data your ad account has on a fundamental level and then uses that data to make your accounts as a whole go towards the right audience, which means the simpler your approaches are with Performance Max campaigns, the better it usually performs. Now, it's not as simple as just running a few products within a Performance Max campaign, giving it a few product images, and then it just goes out into the market right after your perfect customer and starts winning at ROAS levels like these, where some Performance Max campaigns can even operate at a 50x ROAS or a 28x ROAS or a 16x ROAS. These numbers are entirely possible only after you tame the algorithm of that Performance Max campaign and make it work for your brand, make it think of your brand as a quality brand which deserves this level of scale. But now let's speak a little bit about how to actually win with Performance Max campaigns. By the way, these are the same exact approaches we use for brands which we work with under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing, which, by the way, if you run a brand doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, you need some extra help scaling to the next level with Google Ads, go on my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a completely free call with me, and let's see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But the key to winning with Performance Max campaigns is to stop focusing on the ad strategy as much and start focusing more on the signals you give the algorithm. What I mean by this is a Performance Max campaign, it's built from the ground up based on the signals you give it, based on the products you feed it, based on the assets you provided. If your ad strategy at the top level, meaning how you do product segregation, meaning what your bidding is, what your budget is, if that is mediocre, that can be made up by ensuring the things within your Performance Max campaign, the assets, products, and anything you do inside of the PMax has high perceived value. And high perceived value, especially with a Performance Max campaign, starts with your foundations, your landing page experience, what you do on the product feed, the product images. Are they opposite of competitors, or are they simply blending in? Or things such as the product titles, or even what you do in the Google Merchant Center, the product attributes, so on and so forth. All these things influence the perceived value of your products and your assets within the Performance Max campaign, which ultimately affects the whole. So the key to begin winning with Performance Max, it's not to start by clicking around a bunch of buttons inside the PMax. Rather, is to take a step back, start from your landing page, ensure the conversion rates are above your industry average. Ideally, we like to go above 1% to 2% and above. Ensure that the bounce rate is not too high. Ideally, you want to be less than 80-90%. Anything above, and that means something's really wrong with your website. And then you can move on to things such as your CTRs. Well, how much your CTRs, your products have, what is the average CBCs. All these things tell you the quality of your product feed, which ultimately decides the perceived value of your PMax campaign. Second, you want to do interest targeting the right way with Performance Max campaigns. And you might stop for a second and think it's not even possible to do interest targeting. Well, you're actually correct. It's not possible with PMax campaigns. However, interest with Facebook, it's simply like doing interest targeting, where you choose an individual interest on Facebook and the campaign to go after. Interest targeting on Performance Max campaigns is basically the keywords you add within your ads, within your headlines, within your long headlines, descriptions. It's the keywords you have within your product feed. titles, descriptions, etc. All these things make up the interest targeting for your Performance Max campaigns. And when you combine this with a simplistic approach, because Performance Max campaigns work the best when it's simple versus being a jack of all trades, because I see so many brands out there where they're trying to have 5 different things going on. They have a bunch of images, assets, logos, headlines, etc., along with a bunch of different asset groups within the Performance Max. And then on top of that, they have hundreds of different products and SKUs within that PMax. What happens is this PMax ends up being a jack of all trades rather than a master of one thing, which ideally we like to start with shopping placements first. So if you make things simple, if you do proper interest targeting, if you have high perceived value, you're already on the right trajectory of making the Performance Max campaigns win for your brand. But now, to take things up a notch, to take things to the second level, what you need to now do is you need to do some things which will force the PMax to win for your brand 9 times out of 10. The first thing you need to do in order to force the PMax to win is to treat it more of like a master of one thing versus a jack of all trades. This simply means instead of going in and adding a bunch of asset groups to your Performance Max campaigns with a bunch of different images, logos, etc., you can do that, but down the line, once you have properly A/B tested one thing, and then from there you choose which approach is the best. Is it the one with a bunch of images, logos, etc., and a bunch of signals, or is it the one that's feed only? Because you need to understand if your brand reacts better to shopping placements only first, or all of these placements with the images and logos. Because keep in mind, anytime you add all of these things in, it makes your ad go after YouTube, Gmail, Discover, remarketing, along with discovery and shopping. Second, you need to do proper A/B testing. So for this brand, if you see right here, we have added all of these different asset groups in, and they were getting A/B tested previously. Once we figured out that they do not work with this campaign approach, we paused all of them and we're now only running one major one, because this is the one, even after multiple A/B tests, was the one that was winning. Now we are introducing more A/B tests based around this approach right here for this individual PMax campaign. And I normally like to take the 60-40 approach when it comes to the Performance Max campaigns, which means 60% of the PMax should be based around manual control, 40% should be AI driven. This means things such as smart bidding. This means things such as adding in different images, logos, etc. This means having signals in. This is all artificial intelligence, the algorithm deciding things for you. Whereas manual control could mean things such as adding in negative keywords as you like, based around certain keywords which work for your brand and based around keywords that don't work for your brand. This could also mean going into the inside section and deciphering which keywords are better to add in the back end versus which one should be removed, etc. And then when you combine this with the right product feed, because you need a solid foundation to make a Performance Max campaign work, and optimize things such as negative keywords, insights going up and down on the bidding restrictions based on results, that's when the Performance Max campaign really starts to be tamed around your needs, tamed around the numbers you want to achieve, which will eventually help you win 9 times out of 10 with a Performance Max campaign. So keep things simple, go after the foundations first, make sure you focus on the high perceived value, and if you do all of these 3 things, I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10 your PMax campaigns will work. And if you still need help doing Google Ads and you're already doing $50,000 or more per month in revenue, go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and let's potentially work together to scale your brand to the very next level with Google Ads.